One down are more to follow. As Fiona Goddard resigns from the grooming gang's National Inquiry panel, I'm going to explain her resignation letter, why this is significant and what to keep an eye out for. Stay tuned. Hello Envy UK, it's Pete here. Welcome back to the channel. A bit of a somber video tonight because it looks like the National Inquiry has started to break down. Now, I looked on Twitter earlier today and you see, or maybe this side, you'll see Raja Mia has posted or reposted Fiona's post about her resignation from the grooming gang's inquiry. Now, what I'll do is I'll put it on the screen here and we'll read through it and we'll talk about it and digest it, because I think this is significant for a number of reasons. Firstly, it is another attempt by the shady, corrupt Labour government to water down and dilute this heinous decades-long problem, to protect their skins, to protect the cover-ups of the cover-ups of the cover-ups, and ultimately protect multiculturalism and the Pakistani community for being the main perpetrator in this grooming gang scandal. I wish I didn't have to say it, but it is what it is, and it is fact, grim fact, possibly the darkest thing ever happened to the UK, in my personal opinion. This is absolute disgrace. I'm not letting this go either, by the way. There's a few things that I'm like a dog with a bone on, and this is one of them. Unbelievable. So I'll just pull it up on the screen here. Right, here we go. So, to whom it may concern, I write to inform you of my decision to remove myself from the Victim Survivor Liaison Panel, which operates under the Home Office and NWG network. The letter constitutes formal notice of my resignation from the panel. The decision is final and has not been reached lightly, so it's come with some consideration. Let's continue. Recent developments and the direction of the panel have come to conflict with my personal and professional morals. For reasons of conscience and integrity, I am unable to continue my participation. I have had doubts for a while and have tried to persevere until after meeting with potential chairs this week. But after those chairs were leaked, classic Labour government, even the speakers had a go at them for their leaky portfolios, and seeing myself and other survivors panicked and suspicious of each other of the leaking in the aftermath, I realised we should never have been put in that position in the first place. The inquiry is supposed to be a public process and should have been conducted openly and transparently from the start. Survivors' anonymity is obviously of utmost importance, and they should be secure in knowing their personal details and opinions are confidential. Unbelievable. The dynamics of this inquiry, including the potential chairs and progress, should have been conducted openly and honestly by the government, and survivors should have had the choice to voice their opinions if they decided to. So there goes. She's outlined what should happen. The actual preparation and the structure of the inquiry should be done in an open and public manner. Correct. Let's move on. Instead, the secretive conduct and conditions imposed on survivors, that's interesting. So the victims, the survivors, as we should call them, not victims, but ultimately in a case study it would be referred to as that. But the survivors, this is the opportunity to give these scores and hordes of young women now and girls the opportunity to speak freely and frankly about everything that's been suppressed disgustingly by the authorities. And as you can see here, it's clearly not happening. She has no reason to lie. She has no reason to fabricate this. She is in it for justice. So let's carry on. Imposed on the survivors has led to a toxic, fearful environment, and there is high risk of people feeling silenced again, just what I said. As such, they've made a difficult decision to leave the Victim Survivors Liaison Panel and not to continue with the meetings this week. This is not the only reason that has led to this decision. There have been a multitude of issues that have raised serious concerns with the ongoing process of the inquiry and its terms of reference. The first of these is that myself and others are not supposed to be on this panel at all. We were led to believe that we would be consulted separately and didn't even know there was a panel until we found out through our other circumstances. I have serious concerns about certain members of the panel and their affiliations with members of the Labour government. That presents a potential conflict of interest and incentives, pushing in opposition to the honest representations of the survivors' voices. So not only have they, the government and the people responsible for setting up this committee, this panel for victim survivors, not only have they gone against the actual the rules of it to be open and transparent and brought it in to be closed and out of the public eye and behind closed doors, away from scrutiny, one might say. They're now pushing in people that will influence the process of the inquiry in the favour of the government. So this is starting to become pulled away from being independent and is now becoming, or trying to become, state dictated, state controlled, state narrative, cover up the authorities and everyone else who's got dirt on us. Right, let's carry on. The inquiry was ordered in June as an independent commission into the G gangs after Baroness Casey's rapid audit, and was always supposed to have a specific focus on group-based CSE. All survivors of any type of sexual abuse should have their voices and experiences heard. Absolutely, they should be heard. And they should be heard for as long as they need to be heard. And then they should be given the opportunity to give that person a ring back in a day or three and add to what they remember. Because don't forget, when I can't even imagine what these girls have been through. I can't even do it. So, but it's just, I can feel myself winding up. We've got another page and a half of this to get through, and it's horrific. Fiona, if this ever gets to you, this video, the guts, the courage, the fight, the strength that you have is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I don't know how you do it. I'll recap a little bit. We're always supposed to have a specific focus on group-based CSC. All survivors of any type of sexual abuse should have their voices experience heard if they choose, so that the systems can learn from lived experiences, their lived experiences. But this inquiry needs to remain focused on the subsection of offending, this specific subsection, to be precise. Grooming gangs based on group-based sexual exploitation is a unique crime with its own markers. It also differs from other areas of CSA and CSE in that victims have experienced decades of failure from statutory services. Expanding the scope of this inquiry, risks it being watered down once again. And failing to get to the truth. We have repeatedly faced suggestions from officials to expand this inquiry, and there is a real fear from survivors, including myself, that it will turn into another IICSA, with grooming gang victims being forgotten. Now that's very important, because that's what the government want to do. They want to include these other types of crime loosely based on CSE, child sexual exploitation, or child sexual assault, CSA, and that way they will dilute the high percentage of Pakistani abuse gangs in and amongst these other two areas of heinous crime. So what she's saying is that we need to focus on this particular Pakistani grooming gangs and concentrate on that alone, because that is what we're here to look at. And that's what we want to know. We want to get to the bottom of this. I'm further concerned by the condescending and controlling language used by survivors throughout this process who have had to fight every day just to be believed. And I think they deserve more respect than they have received. One of my main issues was being told in the beginning that the survivors on the panel were to be consulted on the independent chair. Yet when this time came, this is criminal. When this time came, we were told it was first come, first serve. And many did not make it into the meeting. So that's what happened. They told him, I think I remember this, I think they got something stupid like 2 days to get to wherever the meeting was being held, to say your bit and be included in the national inquiry. Well, let's just work back on the demographics of this. Not all survivors are what I'm about to say, so please, don't go down the rabbit hole with me, but a lot of the survivors will have serious and significant mental and physical health problems following decades of abuse. They will have things like they can't go out. They're too scared to go out. They might run into or see someone that is an offender or looks like an offender, and you don't want to relive that. You can't, never. So that was unfair, that they were made to go somewhere within a short period of time when a lot of them will be on benefits and be on support, to be a part of this. That is just criminal in itself. Absolutely criminal. Just a typical government thing to do. I'm disgusted. Just before we carry on, I know that a few of you who will watch this will watch all of it. Some of you might not watch it, but if you got to this stage of the video, thank you for tuning in. This is an important subject and I want to give it airtime. I want to get the message out and not let the government cover this down. Let me know in the comments what you think so far, and then we'll carry on. Each survivor has valuable experience to bring to the table after years of being ignored, derided and silenced, to tell them their voices mattered, and then once again shut them out, no doubt left some survivors feeling like they did before, unheard and unimportant. Disgrace. I hope that in leaving the panel, someone else will be given the opportunity to make sure their voice is heard. It's fucking criminal. So Fiona has the mindset that if she moves out of the way, someone else that she feels is more deserving, she's been through a horrific situation herself. Look up stoic in a dictionary, and that's her. Selfless to give somebody else the opportunity to come forward. But we want them to come forward and we want you to come forward too, Fiona. Unbelievable. I told you this is going to be a difficult video. It's a bit longer than normal as well because I want to spend time making sure that we cover this letter, give you my feelings, and, if anyone else out there feels the same, do share this or like it or, whatever you need to do to get the message out. We can't let this sit on the table. We've got to keep kicking up the dust. I was also deeply saddened to learn that someone appointed to a senior position within the inquiry had publicly expressed personal views on grooming gangs that directly contradict findings in the Casey report and survivors' lived experiences. So that's someone who's organising this inquiry, who believes it's a sham, who is definitely a part of the cover-up, definitely deep state, and definitely a nightmare on legs, and shouldn't be anywhere near anyone with responsibility or power. It's just annoying. It's just 2025. What are we doing here? I consider their inclusion to be a serious breach of trust and a complete disregard of the standards of responsibility I would expect the Home Office to uphold. The most concerning development of this inquiry has been the identities of the two prospective chairs. Oh, you're not going to believe this. One has a background in policing and the other a social worker. The very two services that contributed most to the cover-up of the national mass rape trafficking of kids. This is a disturbing conflict of interest. I fear the lack of trust in services from the years of failings and corruption will have a negative impact in survivor engagement with this inquiry. You're too right. If these women and girls have been going to social workers or going to the school or going to the council or going to the police or going to, ambulance drivers, whoever in authority, to try and get some legal and some authoritative help, I've been covering it up. So to have two people on two chairs of the panel that directly have associations to those is a big red line. You can't have it. I'll come up with a metaphor, but it's just not appropriate. This is just like, talk about rub it in. So here we go. In the recently obtained transcripts of my 2019 trial, jury members, here's the crunch, were dismissed. That's jury members were dismissed that had any connection with police or social services to prevent any bias on the behalf of the jury. This inquiry should be held to the same standards, absolutely, as the criminal case, if not higher. Having a police officer or social worker leading the inquiry, once again letting services mark their own homework. We've done that before and they marked themselves right when they were wrong. The shortlisting of these potential chairs shows the government's complete lack of understanding of the level of corruption and failings involved in this scandal. In Baroness Casey's rapid audit under her recommendations are as follows: based on findings from criminal investigations above and submissions from victims and witnesses, an independent commission should review cases of failures or obstruction by statutory services to identify localities where local investigations should be instigated. So basically, if there's a sniff of a cover-up, that's where they need to be going. There would need to be a process to identify instances and allegation of statutory agencies' failures, and we recommend that government develops a list of criteria to determine the types and extent of failures which should be used to access the triggering of a hearing. Independent commission would set strict timescales and terms of reference for their local investigations, which would have a single appointed legal team with full statutory powers available to them, able to compel witnesses where they refuse to cooperate. They can bring them in. Local authorities, police and other relevant agencies should in the meantime be required not to destroy any relevant records. I think the horse has bolted on this one. They've been destroying this for years. Local investigations could commence sooner in areas where independent commission and Home Office agree that sufficient evidence already exists. So what they're saying is if there's any evidence left and enough to form the basis of a case, to start there. Just go there, we can get the ball rolling. Assigning either of these two people as potential chairs, along with the proposal of truth projects and region-wide inquiries, would be against Baroness Casey's audit and review. I have made the difficult choice to make this letter public, as I believe that remaining on the panel with my concerns would make me no different to the services that remain silent to the horrendous abuse that survivors experience. I cannot believe I'm reading this. This lady thinks that by staying on this panel, she's going to be tarred with the same brush or just as bad, because she knows that having a police and a social worker on heading the panel is bias. Therefore, if she stays on it, she's effectively biased as well. Now, this takes titanic confidence and courage when you've got a sniff of potential justice for what you've been through, to then resign because it's not going to be fair or truthful or transparent or honest or get to the bottom of it, takes mega courage. Now, I'll do whatever I can to support you, Fiona. Whatever you need, just let me know. If we can give you some airtime, we'll give it to you. If we can do some whatever, we'll support it. So if you want anything putting out there, you let me know. If you ever watch this. It is my hope it will make it to the Home Office and government. Sorry, it is my hope that it will make the Home Office and government reconsider their approach to this inquiry and comply with Baroness Casey's recommendations, even if it means I'm no longer involved going forward. My final hope is that the Home Office and government also start to consider the survivors, the potential impact of their treatment, and the approach the process going forward in a more open, honest and respectful manner. It's just remarkable. I remain supportive of the overarching aims to assist victims and survivors. I hold the work of those involved to the highest regard. Please treat this letter as formal notification with immediate effect. If any other paperwork or administrative action is required as part of my complete process. Okay, so there you go. Right then, so we'll just get rid of that. And there you have it. So I just think that this is a part of the big plan. Now, Jess Phillips is literally, she may as well be a Muslim. In my opinion, she may as well be, she may as well move into Bordsley Green. Oh, hang on. I think she lives there already. But no, she doesn't. She lives in the next estate. I'm not going to say what it is because it might get in trouble. But anyway, I think that she has no agenda to stop these horrific crimes, let alone unearth and expose historic crimes. I think that she is getting support from the community in Birmingham, the same community, let's face it, that has just banned Jews from coming to Birmingham because they don't like it. Now, this, when I, from what I remember, was a democracy where the government, the king, then the government, then the police, that's the pecking order, and then the public. When the hell did the community turn around to the government and tell it what's what, and then the government turn around and go, oh, okay. Oh, I'll tell you why, because in the government, it falls on the Home Secretary. Guess what? She's a Muslim from fucking Birmingham. So, yeah, that now you're starting to see the community closing ranks, flexing their muscles and seeing what the bloody hell they can get away with. Leave me a comment if that makes you angry or if you're all right with that, because quite frankly, I'm not. So I'm going to leave it there. I think that Fiona Goddard is an absolute hero. Raja, well done for exposing this. I definitely think you should follow through with what you said on your X post and tell us exactly what you know, mate. Because quite frankly, you are one of my heroes. I've watched you on a couple of programs, and that has been amazing. So anyone watching this still, thank you very much. Go and find him and subscribe to him, follow him. Brilliant. And Fiona, good luck with the future. We'll support you. Little old us here at MV UK. So that is it. I'll leave you there and have a good evening. That's Pete from MV UK.